Welcome to the Noted Podcast. My name is Daniel, and your other host is joining me, Eric.
Hello.
And today we're doing a little bit of it's kind of tied to the Doctor Strange of Madness podcast we did, but today's topic is we're going to be talking about villain origin stories, specifically how to turn a hero into a villain. Kind of like like an origin story oftentimes takes, it shows like you might have a villain first and then show how the person became a villain, and oftentimes it's like they were a hero and then they turned into a villain.
Yeah.
And we'll be discussing that. And what prompted this is there's this booktuber I've been listening to and watching recently. And here, I'll see if I can find her channel so that I can shout her out. I'll do that later. But there's a booktuber I've been watching recently, and she does not like villain origin stories. She feels like they're all just kind of the same thing of they were once good, they were the hero, everyone liked them, then they got jilted by something bad happening, and now they went bad. Like one thing jilted them, and then they went bad. And I love villains. I absolutely love villains, and I love getting their backstories and their origins. And so when she said that, it kind of made me angry. I don't know how you feel about villains, but personally, I was like, well, no, villain origin stories aren't bad.
Yeah.
And they got me thinking of my favorite villain origin story, which is the prequel movies, which is of Star Wars, the origin story of Darth Vader, Anakin. And I think that is why I think the prequels are why I love villains so much, because I grew up watching those as a kid, and there really just are the story of Darth Vader and Anakin becoming Darth Vader. And every time I watch it, especially Revenge of the Sith, I'm like, no, Anakin, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't become the bad guy, but also become Darth Vader. Dun 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 dun
Yes.
dun 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 dun.
Yes.
And I get like excited, and then I thought about it, I'm like, I think that's why I was thinking about it in the car because I was driving listening to this, and then I started ranting. I paused the video and started ranting. I was thinking about it. I think that's why I like villains so much, is because of Anakin and the prequels. And
Mhm.
I think the prequels do a villain origin story much better than what she's saying. Because normally I can agree some origin stories do like they get jilted. They're a hero, they get jilted, then they're bad, you know? But
Yeah.
I feel like the prequels do it in a way where we see the slow descent. And I'll discuss that in a bit more detail, but I didn't want to talk longer than 3 minutes without having you interject. So, what do you feel about villain origin stories and villains? What's your stance on that before I get into Anakin?
So this is my thought on villains. Heroes that turn into villains, I'm always a fan of because at
Mm-hmm.
least if you get to see a downfall and like the inner workings of why they're deciding to switch sides, I think that is good character development.
Like Anakin.
A good example for that is like Madara,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
from Naruto.
Madara
Like
was a hero for sure.
he was a hero. I mean, like, it was war and like people fighting each other, but then it was like common ground, build a society, and then he's like, no, this is still wrong. And then it's just kind of opposing, lifestyles or whatever. There's definitely a lot that I'm missing and stuff like that, but like in general, he is painted as the bad guy. I think those type of villains are always good. And then there's also just like villains who are just like evil, just like out the gates evil. And to be honest, sometimes I don't like villains that are just villains to be villains because being villain is villain kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I can understand that, and I agree. I think what I kind of wanted to talk about more, sorry to cut you off, but just to
No, you're
jump
good.
into it real
You're good.
quick, is the first one. like heroes becoming villains, or like
Yes. Yes. Yes.
or like in this case, Darth Vader was a villain first, and then we got his origin story, which then ends up being a hero becoming a villain. So that type of stuff. Will you say do you not like it? Like, let's say you have like the Joker. Joker is evil to be evil. Would
Yes.
you say you don't want an origin story for him, or you would like it better if you did get that origin story?
Well, the origin story of the Joker. Do you know the origin story of the Joker?
Yes, yes, I do.
Yeah. So he was like a comedian, and
Yeah, that's a bad
he.
example. He was never a hero, but
Yeah. No, I mean he was never a hero, but he was never a villain. He was just a dude who got fucked over,
yeah,
and then went
repeatedly.
insane because he also fell in a vat of acid. You know that could also frick somebody's life up. So then it's just kind of like he's crazy from then on out, which makes sense. Um, I think I'm trying to think of a bad villain.
Well, like, I'll tell you what prefaced this statement of hers. How about
Yes.
that?
Okay. Okay. I like that. I
So,
like that.
this is what she was talking about, which got me thinking about this frame of mind. So, did you read or watch The Hunger Games?
Ooh, okay. Continue.
So I don't know if you're aware, but about 2 years ago, they released a prequel to The
Yeah.
Hunger Games
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
about
The
President
sonnet
Snow.
of whatever, or like the yeah
The
song of birds and fire or something like that.
Yeah, and it's about President Snow, who is
Yeah.
one of the main villains of The Hunger Games.
Dun
Um,
dun dun. Spoilers. Or is he?
and so this book is his prequel, his origin story. And she
Yeah.
was saying before the book came out, she was not very excited for this, even though she had pre-ordered it already, thinking it was going to be about Haymitch. Um,
Oh, that would have been such a good story.
which I agree, I would
That
have
would have
liked
been
that
way
more.
better. Way
But
better.
she was like, I ordered it, I'm gonna read it, but honestly I'm not that excited because I don't really care for villain origin stories. And that's already an
Yeah.
established villain. Personally, I don't understand that, and I think that's because my one of my favorite characters in all of media, if not arguably my favorite character of all of media, is Anakin.
Yeah.
He's my favorite Star Wars character. I've come to that conclusion. He always has been. It comes in and out of other characters I love or get equal to,
Yeah, but
but
I mean,
it's always
Star
him and
Wars
someone
is
else.
Anakin. Yeah,
Yeah,
Star Wars is Anakin Skywalker. Like
it's
he is the story.
yeah for the like
It
the main for the movies, one thousand
yeah,
percent, one
yeah.
thousand
I
percent.
like when people say the chosen one,
It's
I
Anakin.
feel like
It's
your
Anakin.
brain like just like if I were to go up to like a random person and I would be like, "Who's the chosen one?" You're either going to say Harry Potter, you're either going to say Anakin, or Frodo.
I
Not
feel like
really, but like
the next one is Link.
if they're gamers,
Yeah,
yes.
I think of Link, but that's also
I
because I
don't.
grew up with Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's Mario, bro.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
but I don't understand that. I can get where she's coming from, but I don't understand that kind of thought process of not liking villain origin stories. So that's why she said that statement before the movie came out. This was her video before the book came
Book.
out. Sorry.
There you go.
Um, and so she made that statement about why she wasn't excited for it, and that got me thinking: are they really that bad, or like what makes a good villain origin story? I guess just kind of discussing what makes
Yeah.
a good villain origin story is kind of what I'm wanting to get into, because what I think what makes the prequel so good, and I'm going to compare it to another character we've discussed,
Okay.
Daenerys.
Okay.
So the reason I think Anakin's story works so well and Daenerys' story does not, the two reasons I think this is true, is because they're very similar in a lot of ways. They're
Okay.
both very passionate characters who will do anything for the ones they love.
Mhm.
They have extremely strong moral stances that they don't stand down from. Anakin in the second movie makes a statement to Padme that
I don't like sand. Sorry. Sorry.
he
Go ahead.
they're on the beach, and it's after he fakes his death, like when he fakes like he got ran over by the horse thing.
Oh yeah, that
And
scene.
and he's talking to her, and one of my favorite statements is they're talking about democracy, and he's like, well, sometimes you just need to show people what's right, and if they can't figure it out, then you have to force them to do what's right. And she looks at him and is like, that sounds like a dictatorship. And he's like, I mean, is it bad if it's right? And like that just shows Anakin's like mindset
Yeah.
is he believes what he believes in is so morally true and so morally correct that it doesn't really care if he forces you into it, because what he believes he's in the right. I mean, and he hates slavery because he grew up in it, and so he's a very impassioned person. Daenerys is the same way. She was in slavery. She was sold off as a
A wife.
a wife. She is
I feel like her situation's a wee bit different
oh
into slavery kind of thing.
yeah,
But I understand your thought.
yeah.
But continue.
Their stories aren't one for one, but their
Well, no.
stories are still, I feel like, very comparable.
Yes.
And
No, I agree. I agree. I agree.
she is extremely impassioned about what she believes in. I mean, fuck, dude, she hung all those slavers on the crosses and
Yes.
stuff. She did not give no shits. Anakin killed in Clone Wars. He killed the dude who was part of the Separatists. No fucking chill. Just murdered him. Did not care. He was like, no, you're a threat to the Republic. I'm gonna kill you. Just lightsaber through the
Bye bye.
chest. Easy. And it was in a scene why this I think is a big thing to consider is because the guy he killed was telling Obi-Wan and the Duchess, you have to compromise your morals to kill me, and Obi-Wan, you will become a hero for killing me. Which one are you gonna do it? Who's gonna pull the trigger? And like playing like neither of you will do it. And Anakin, no chill, no regret, no stutter,
Yeet.
boop boop, just lightsaber in, lightsaber out.
Yep.
Um, and so they're both characters that I believe because we've talked about Daenerys and how I say she toes that line. Anakin
Mm.
does the same thing. They toe that line of because what they're doing is in the moral right, their actions aren't completely wrong, but their actions are like super towing that line. They're dancing, their actions are very aggressive and very impassioned and like could easily become bad, but because they're doing it for the moral correct position, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Anakin. He constantly toes that line. Where I think the big difference in their stories is Anakin actually crosses that line. Daenerys doesn't cross that line, and when she does, she becomes the villain. That's where I can agree that her story was done incorrectly in the show. We never see her actually cross that line. We see her fucking walk the line. We see her skirt the line. We see her kiss the line pretty much, but she never crosses it. We see her
Wait. Cross the line of becoming a villain?
or doing something horrific that you can't justify. Like Anakin
Sh-
crosses the line
She
of
murders people with the dragons.
no. Okay. Let me re-explain the statement I'm making.
Okay, please.
So, before she becomes a villain, before these
Gotcha.
characters become
Okay. I
villains,
understand. I
we
understand
never
now.
see them.
I get
We
you.
never see her cross a line.
Yep.
Anakin, before he becomes a villain, crosses the line
Yes. Okay. I understand now.
because he kills the Sand People.
Yeah.
That is what
We
makes
we
his
see him do a dark thing before him being Vader.
yeah, and we see him go back to being a good guy. And we see his slow descent because what makes him killing those Sand People such an important thing is him becoming a bad guy. Because I hear some people complain that Anakin became bad for no reason. I'm like, did you even watch those movies? Because like
Honestly, though.
Anakin was constantly being not trusted by the Jedi Council, even though he felt like he proved himself 10 times over throughout the war. He was called the Chosen One, but yet they weren't trusting him like he was the Chosen One. And on top of it, the one true time he becomes, like he crosses the line, the one true time he actually does an evil act and crosses that line is when he murders the whole Sand Village after his mom dies.
Yeah.
And then, in Revenge of the Sith, what causes
Mango's
him to,
Padme.
yep, what causes him to start crossing that line again or even consider it. We've already established the man is very impassioned about people that are close to him. If you are his loved one or best friend, he will fight to the end of the earth for you. He will move heaven and hell, heaven and earth. Nothing will stop Anakin. He will be there for you. And the one time his loved one, his mother, was dead, he lost it. So now he's stronger, he's empowered, he's having the same visions. Last time he had these visions, he went to the one person he trusts more than anyone, Obi-Wan, and he told him to ignore them. He's not going to go to Obi-Wan again this time because he told him to ignore them and his mom died. This time he's going to act on it himself. And by acting on it, he goes down that slope of being manipulated and going to the dark side because the one thing that caused him to cross that line in the past is the one thing that's causing him to fully cross that line now.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's such a well-written story. Daenerys doesn't have that moment. She has the things that push her. Like they have like the Palpatine manipulating Anakin type of thing with Daenerys, of her like going crazy because she doesn't trust anyone around her. Everyone she loves is dead. She's alone in a foreign land. Everyone is conspiring around her. Like they have like that type of political situation around her, similar.
Yeah.
But the thing is, she never crossed the line in the past, so her crossing a line now feels out of place.
Yeah. I think with specifically just like writing a story for a villain, I would feel that with Danny's arc, they did force it in one season, which is one reason why it fails.
Well, I do feel like they did foreshadow a lot, but the issue was it wasn't that they didn't show her eventually. Like they didn't not foreshadow it. They did, but they just never. They only foreshadowed. They didn't do more than that. They needed to do more than that for it to work. So like if in season 5 or 6 they showed her cross the line, or season 4 they showed her act out and do something similar to Anakin killing the villagers, I think it would have been fine. I think her story would have worked a lot better. But the fact that all we got was foreshadowing, and then we never really got to see her cross that line ever, and then when she does it, she goes complete apeshit, is why I don't think it works.
Her story, I think because I don't like the way that they ended this show, so I'm not playing devil's advocate at all because I completely agree. But I also think that the way that they did foreshadow it, though, I feel like it did work only for this reason, is because like her brain in the her fear and what drove her to going mad was more of like losing power. And I think like the only instance that we do get that is when like she loses her dragons to like that bald wizard dude, right? And then also the part when she's in the pyramid and like the people are like trying to get her out. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
I kind of need to rewatch this show because I haven't watched it in a really long time, so it is a little bit foggy. But I feel like there are times where like her power is challenged, and I think that what drove her mad was instead of like losing her power, she lost all of the people who allowed her to have power and like learn like how to control it, which then she was like, I now have all this power and I don't know how to use it.
And she had
and
no
now
one
she
to
goes
advise her.
crazy. Yeah, and now she goes crazy. With the Anakin thing, it's more like I feel like Daenerys is more of like she goes crazy because she loses everything, and then it's just kind of like, well, fuck it, you know.
And Anakin goes
and
Anakin's
is more
because he's about to lose everything.
Exactly. His is like impending doom of like the fear of losing the love.
Yeah.
And hers is more of like,
I've lost it.
I'm losing everything and I can't do anything about it. so I will go crazy.
Well,
His is foreshadowing to happen, and hers is being
already happening.
foreshadowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, hers is slowly happening, and his hasn't happened yet. So I think the reason why his story is better compared to hers is that, once again, like, it's the mystery of it, of like, we don't know if she's gonna die. Like, maybe if Anakin wouldn't have choked her out and like stayed with her through pregnancy, he probably could have helped her somehow through like
Well,
force.
they
But
literally
like,
say in the movie that
yeah.
so she didn't die via childbirth. The reason she died
No, no,
is because
he killed her.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 not even that. It wasn't that. In the movie, they say Padme lost her will to live.
Yeah.
Padme died because she didn't want to live anymore. So,
I feel like it has kind of a thing to do by being, choked
well,
out
I
by
mean,
the man
but the
that
thing
she
is,
loves.
like, she was being choked. Her heart was broken. The person she loved and the husband and father to her children was gone. You know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, giving birth is a huge physical toll on her. But what I'm saying is, let's say Anakin choked her, but then came back and was there and helped her and
Oh
like
no, I still
was.
think she would have died.
I think she would have survived because the medical robot says, "I don't know what's wrong. I think she's just losing the will to live." Like it was said in the movie and like written to be that it wasn't any physical ailment directly that killed her, but the fact that she had lost the one she loved caused
Yeah.
her to no longer want to live. And so she
But
just
if
gave up
so
her
if
will and she just died.
so you're saying that if, let's say, Obi-Wan successfully brought Anakin back, she still would have died?
No, I'm saying if Obi-Wan successfully brought Anakin back, she would have lived. I'm
Okay.
saying
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
died because Anakin
Broke
uh
her heart. She died of a
yeah,
broken heart,
she died
essentially.
of a broken heart. Exactly. I don't
Yeah.
think he killed her with the choke or the childbirth killed her. She died
Well,
of a
but
broken
like,
heart.
yeah,
Is
she
what I'm
died of a
saying.
broken heart is also because he fucking choked her and like broke her heart. Like,
Yeah.
he turned on her,
It
which
wasn't the
broke her
choke.
heart.
It wasn't the choke physically killing her. It was the choke was emotionally killing her.
Yeah, yeah, no, like, yeah,
Yes, 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 yes.
he killed her. Like, sadly, inadvertently, the man doomed himself.
I can agree. I
Um,
can agree with that. Sorry, I thought you meant like he physically killed her with like
mm-mm,
a choke. No, no, I agree
mm-mm.
with you then. Yes.
Him doing that like solidified his nightmare.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He made
that's
his
what I'm
own
saying.
bed. He made his own
Yeah.
bed. Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. I
Um,
agree.
and I think like with a villain character like Danny, she doesn't know how to make a bed.
Well, I
And everybody else makes her bed for her, and then all of a sudden all of her bed mates are dead, and then it's like, oh no, I
I
just have blankets now.
I think the way they could have done Danny's story better is if throughout the show they had two significant moments that happened. One, and they could have done this with Khal Drogo, or maybe not with Khal Drogo, but they could have done this with another character.
Aquaman.
They
Sorry.
could have maybe done this with another character, but they could have shown her when she loses a loved one murder innocents or murder someone unjustly. And then they could
I
have
mean,
also, but
she uses the witch to try and save Khal Drogo, which is kind of like,
yeah, but it's
uh,
not.
it's way too early in the show to show that she could do evil things, but like, she also goes against like the whole clan's, like, we don't trust witches or women. That's why we like rape them and kill them. That's like kind of like their whole
Yeah,
thing.
but I feel like that
And
was
then
more.
she goes against their will, kind of thing. It's like, nope, I'm gonna save him. I mean,
Yeah,
her just saving the slaves in general in that show is, I'm not saying a bad thing, but it's like against the horse people's culture,
well, yeah, but
which is just showing like
because she's a good person.
retaliation,
Yeah, but what I'm
but that's for
saying
a good thing.
exactly, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
this is what I'm trying to say. Every time she's retaliated, every time her power was challenged, and she went full ham and full murked people, like
Yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit, Danny, what the fuck are you doing? It was okay because the people she was murking were batshit evil. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is they needed to have moments, like at least one moment, I'd personally say at least two moments, where her power was challenged and she killed people who didn't deserve to die. Like, let's say someone who was just to challenged her and she full on murdered him instead of throwing him in prison or instead of defeating him and throwing them out. She's full on murdered him and hung him in the street or something like that. Or like
Yeah.
succumbed to her anger and murdered someone. Not someone who was a slaver, but someone who was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you took my
Was
city.
labeled as a good person and she
Yeah,
killed.
you took my city. I want to free my city. Like if she had murdered the dude who she ended up marrying for political power in the pyramid Slaver's Bay. Like if she had killed him or something. Like if she had done something like that, then on top of all the other like moments where they showed her go full ham, because that's my thing about like when she murks the whole city with fire, the when she kills when she has her dragon burn King's Landing. I know a lot of people are like, "Whoa, how'd we get here?" I was not surprised, purely for the fact that like she's done horrific, brutal acts to slavers. Like she's shown she's willing to go that
Yeah.
far when she
Yeah.
thinks it's justified. She
Yeah.
thinks what she's doing is justified. I know she's never done this to anyone who's innocent, but she's done this level of thing to justify to people she justifies deserve it. She's
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
justifying it differently now. So I
Yeah.
think that aspect, the storytelling of Danny was good because they foreshadowed how far she will go. I just think they needed to foreshadow her having bad moral judgment. So
Mm.
then to build on top of what you were saying of when her advisors are gone, she has all
She
this
doesn't know what to
power
do. Yeah.
and she doesn't know what to do. Because she has a moral compass, yes, but that moral compass sometimes goes out the window when her power is threatened. And half of the time, the reason why Danny wants to do some fucked up shit all the time, and the reason she doesn't is Jorah Mormont. I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
Danny
And
several
or
times,
what's his name?
Tyrion,
Tyrion, yeah.
or her other advisors, because she has several advisors throughout this show that like talk her out of being a dumbass and killing people out of pride.
Yeah.
She almost does it. She talks about it lightly, like they insulted me. Do they not know who I am? They're like, okay,
They die now.
they're like, Danny,
Oh, no,
Danny,
no, no.
calm the fuck down, Danny, calm the fuck down. Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like if they would have shown her going against her advisors once and then doing something like that, and then her advisors and like talk to her and explain why that was bad, and she's like, and like she like doesn't, she then feels remorseful and doesn't do it again. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
like let's say she did it in season 4. She has 4 more seasons to grow from that, and then loses her loved one in season 6, and then like kills a servant or something. Doesn't
Yeah.
do anything like to a city, unlike what she did in season 4 when she maybe could have killed like a leader or killed like a group of people in a city or something like that. Like murder. Oh, there. Okay, what about this? There was the uprising in the pyramid. Instead of just murdering all the people who were doing the uprising, murder all the people who were doing the uprising who are associated to the uprising. So a ton of innocent peasants. You could have done
Yeah.
something like that.
It's like what she does in the Red Keep.
Yeah, to show that like
Associated to Cersei, she murks everyone.
exactly. So then when she does that, then her advisors like clamp down on her and show her that what she did was wrong, and then she feels remorse and then she grows. But then once she then faces the emotional toll that caused her to do that in the first place, which was being challenged by a lot of people, she faces that again in season 8. It's like, oh, well, we can say the last time that she faced this emotion, this is what she did. And the reason why she hasn't done that since when she faced that emotion later in season 7, let's say, is because her advisors told her not to. Well, now all those advisors that told her not to in season 7 are dead. So now in season 8, she's going to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Then I think it would have worked well. I think that's honestly all you need to do to change her story is add that, like, add her
Add
showing that.
discipline.
Show her becoming, like, show her doing a vile act. Because I do agree,
Yeah.
because we've talked about this, I do think the reason why that scene when she murders all the innocents is, like, what the fuck, Danny, is because every time she has done anything that brutal, it's never been to innocent people.
Yeah.
Even though she's done brutal shit
Yeah,
the
she's
whole
done
show,
horrendous things. It's always been justified, yeah.
even though you can make an argument, even though horrendous shit wasn't really that justified, it was justified to the people she did it to.
Yeah.
Like, at least she wasn't doing it to innocents. She might have gone a
Yeah.
little far, but at least it wasn't innocent people. And so I think that would have been really the only thing I would change. And, like, that's why I think Anakin's story works so well.
Yeah. I think it's because it's a surprise. It's not like a surprise, but it's like he's being pushed and pulled by both sides so easily.
Yeah.
And then he just succumbs to one side and it's like, no. And then you get to see the downfall in Order 66. And it's like the true, like, killing children,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Which,
the root of all horrible shit that anybody could absolutely do. He
which,
does.
which he did in episode 2. He said, I murdered them all. I murdered the
Yeah.
women, the children, and the men. He killed all
Yeah.
the sand people, including children in that movie. So it was like,
Yeah.
I love that mirror. Because they mirrored it in episode 3. He did the same thing.
Yep. Except this time, he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
So, um, I think I've thought of a bad villain.
Okay.
I know that you haven't watched Harry Potter, right? Or you've
I,
watched them
I
all like once or
I've
something.
watched the first movie. That is it.
Yeah. So I think a bad villain is Voldemort.
Really? Okay. I don't know much about
And
Voldemort, but
and
tell
I
me why.
and I know this is why I'm also bringing him up. Okay, so pretty much what we know of him is that he was like an orphan, which
Mm-hmm.
is already like, okay, so he's going to be Batman or not. And so I'll give you a quick rundown.
Okay.
So he's an orphan.
Yeah.
Dumbledore goes to see him and they talk about a bunch of things and he's like stealing from like other kids and he's like, that's a bad thing, blah 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 blah. And like he gets kind of like, slap on the wrist, and then he's like, I could bring you to this school, like Hogwarts. And then like throughout all of his childhood of Hogwarts, he's doing fucked up stuff at Hogwarts.
Mm-hmm.
Like Chamber of Secrets, like Chamber of Secrets is like releasing a giant basilisk into the school and like
Oh, okay.
turning a bunch of children into stone, and he's like framing people, and he's like he did a lot of bad things, right? But that's like his whole thing is just doing horrible things. Like I know stealing as a child is just kind of like, hey, put it back, But like we never got to see him as an innocent ever. He's always just like the root of evil. And he's painted as which I mean, like, yes, you could say that it's like that's a good character, is to just have a solid good and a solid evil, which is something that Harry Potter kind of does. Like you have like Harry Potter, which is kind of like the enlightenment of good, and then you have Voldemort, which is like the pit of evil
Yeah, it's
kind
like
of
the
thing.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You have Aslan
Ex-
and the Wicked White Witch.
yes, exactly. And so it's just I'm kind of like reiterating what I said earlier. It's just like I feel like villains that are just outright villains and never had like
Justification or
not justified.
reasoning, but like
Yeah,
just are evil to be evil, and it doesn't feel like there's
I
any nuance.
yes, I feel like in a story, if you never get to see the reasons why there's an evil, because I think every villain aspi- aspires to be a hero, no matter what. I feel like at some point a villain is always let down,
Or
and then they're just like,
they think they are the hero, even if they
exactly,
weren't let
they're
down. They think what they're
yeah,
doing is correct because I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
But then you also have like people like Homelander. I haven't seen season 3 yet, but then you also have people who are like Homelander who are just like I think they I haven't read comics or anything like that, but like I'm assuming he probably used to be a good guy
I
and then
don't.
he just got like fricked up
I
by society and then was just like, "You know what? Fuck it," kind of thing.
I don't
Like I
think
said,
he ever was a good guy because I haven't read the comics, but like
yeah, I feel like there's probably some
even
good lore behind him.
like what we know of his character is he was made in a lab and he was raised in a lab. And then
Yeah,
he was brought out to society
you would have to think he was a
as
you'd have to think he was a golden boy though.
yeah, well
For like a
maybe
short period of time, he was like the perfect human.
well, what I think
And then probably saw through all of it and then started just doing things on his own convenience.
what I think that it is Homelander maybe as a kid. Maybe as a kid was decent or good, you know? But I think the moment he was released to society, I don't think he was ever good. Purely for the fact that like he was raised in an environment without love and without compassion and without any type of like nurturing, and then he was released into the world as a product to be worshipped. And then he was worshipped, but that's all false love. That's not true love. That's not true like
Yeah, but if he
that's not
was
true that's not true like nourishment or like nurturing.
if he
And
was
so when he
engineered though,
hmm?
if he was engineered though, he wouldn't need to have that.
Well, I mean, he's like a biological engineered person. So like
Yeah.
he was born in a lab, but he's still a human with emotions.
Yeah.
So
But like what I'm
he's
saying,
a psychopath because of his environment, and
yes.
he doesn't understand love, and he doesn't understand what it means to be nice. He only understands to be loved by the public, and what he needs to do to be loved by the public is save people. And so he does that, but then behind closed curtains, he's a vile, nasty human.
Correct. But what I'm trying to get at is that like there would have to be a point where he breaks because in this situation of like being like a product, like I would imagine like yeah, he was like raised in a lab and like never shown like nourishment and anything like that, but like he has his quote unquote like duty to protect and like to love, which is why he's like so fake and like a horrible person behind the scenes and stuff. But I feel like for him to have like a reason to be a nasty human, like there was a point where he was uninnocent and then broke.
Well, and
Does that
that's
make sense?
I
Like
get what you mean.
even him being engineered and like never like actually knowing like what like care is or like empathy or anything like that, I still feel like there would be a point where he had to make the choice to just be a fucking dick.
Well, and this is where I think that happened. I think it happened when he was a kid. I think that's when it
Yeah.
happened. I think he made that snapping decision when he was a child in the lab. Um, I also think that he is an example of a villain who's just evil to be evil. And yes, he has some like reasons where like he was born like yeah, he had a very shitty upbringing, but I don't think there's one specific thing. Like he was all the things I said are why he's evil, but I don't think there was like a specific moment where he was like a good guy and jilted and went bad. I think he's an example of like humans are sometimes just vile.
Yeah.
And that's I get why you don't like villains that are just evil because they're evil. I understand that, and I think I like it when they have a little more nuance. But the reason I don't hate villains that are evil just to be evil is because I feel like sometimes humans are just vile to be vile. And yeah, there might be a few things that cause them to be that way, but like Palpatine is a good
Oh,
example.
there's yeah, but he's
Palpatine,
not real.
I know, but I'm just saying like I
I
feel like
know.
in media and art, the reason I don't mind when villains are evil to be evil is because I feel like sometimes there's just humans in real life who are evil to be evil, who are vile to be vile. And
Yeah,
I
but there's
feel
always
like
a breaking point for
I
humans,
don't
though.
think so. I don't think that's
Yeah,
always
there
true.
are.
I don't think that's always
Yeah,
true. I
there
think
are.
I don't think that's always true. I think
You think out of the womb someone could just be Hitler, just cause?
I mean, let
You
me put
don't
it
think
this
that
way.
there's neglect and abuse and trauma behind Hitler? It
Oh,
was
there
just like
is.
out of the
Oh,
womb, like I'm gonna
100%.
kill billions of people.
I mean, yeah, but there's a difference between having, I don't know, this is my point though. Like, yeah, he had trauma, and you're right. I don't think someone just comes out of the womb evil. But Hitler's trauma does not
No,
equate
it
to
doesn't.
the things he did. And
Nope.
I think at some point his trauma is not a justifiable or even an equal to breaking point. He was just evil to be evil despite whatever trauma he went through. At that point, I think he's just evil to be evil. I don't think you, that's just kind of my point on like my I guess perspective on that.
I I feel as though Hitler would be more of a Daenerys kind of person, where it was like probably a good, decent human being. Shit went no way, and then it just escalated to the highest level that it possibly could, and then crazy and drugs and being viewed as a god to you know hundreds of thousands of people and being to influence an entire country. That's a lot of power.
Yeah, but I
So
just
if you think you're right and you can influence hundreds of thousands of people to think you're right.
oh yeah. I can I see what you're saying. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think that I think that yes, experiences sometimes shape people and oft experiences shape who we are. Yes.
All
But
experience shape who we are.
but I don't think experiences are the 100% reason we are who we are. I think people can make choices despite the experiences they have.
But we make
Um
choices off of experience that has happened to us.
Yeah, but there's plenty of people who've gone through traumatic life and don't become straight up
Yeah.
vile, evil people. That's why I'm saying I don't think you're born out of the womb evil to be evil, but I also think having villains in media and like art and in books and TV shows that are evil to be evil, I think is important because the I think there is just people who are evil to be evil. Yeah, they might have had a shitty upbringing, but still like that shitty upbringing does not equate to the cliff they jumped off of to continuing to be evil to be evil. You know what I mean? And like I think they're just vile to be a vile person because it makes them feel good to be vile. And I think there's real people like that in life. And I think that's why I don't hate it when there's vile people in TV shows or movies.
I can understand. I can understand that, but I still think that cuz they're making the choice to then be evil, but there was a point where it was like this is okay. I'm making the decision to now be a horrible person.
Mhm.
Like I don't think that like once you get in the groove of being a horrible person, you just decide to do horrible things. Like I think it becomes easier to do the horrible things because then you can justify more horrible things. But I think that like it would pretty much be like if I were to start stealing small things from like a grocery store, right? I'm like, oh, I'm just stealing an apple. It's just an apple. And then that apple turns into like a more expensive product. And then it turns into like a more expensive product. And then like, somehow I learn how to tax fraud, or it's just something that's like it just escalates because you can justify that it was just an apple.
Mhm.
And I think that's where evil people doing evil things, I think that's how evil people do evil things. is that
Hmm.
they just continuously justify that it was like just an apple kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah, how they get there, yeah.
Yeah, but and that's
But
like that's what I'm saying is that I don't think that you just one day decide to like steal the apple. Like you steal the apple because it's either a necessity to live and then it just escalates and
uh,
that just falls into societal shit and economical shit,
I
state of the world and stuff,
I
which
disagree.
what?
Yeah, yeah, no, I
How?
think,
Why?
for example, I as a kid stole stuff that weren't a necessity, but because
Yeah.
I wanted it. It was greed. I wanted to steal the soda, so I stole the soda. Did I need the
Okay.
soda to live? No. I
Okay.
like I think yes, that sometimes is true what you're saying of like
I'm not saying what
they
I'm
make
saying
that
is an
first step.
absolute.
I'm like sometimes like they make that first step because of a justifiable reason. You know what I mean? Like they're like I'm doing this to survive to live, but also I think that sometimes people just do a bad thing because it's a bad thing that makes them feel good to do it.
I still think there has to be a decision there. There's
Oh,
still a
oh
decision
yeah.
there.
Oh, they're making the decision to do it
Yes.
for sure. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but they're doing evil for evil reasons, even if it's
Correct.
they're making the decision to do it.
My I'm just saying that it's just like what you just like I would say if one day a person who's never stolen anything just decides to go out and steal, they've
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to steal something.
Yeah.
It's premeditated. You've always been greedy. You've always wanted things you've never had,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Like you always want what you can't have,
But
kind
now
of
you're making
ish,
the decision to do it.
to actually do it, which is also like goes into like parenting and like raising and trauma and abuse and neglect and all that things that, build humans. Like, and that's why I don't understand evils for like evil to just evil is because like there was a point where they weren't like, but it also depends on how they were raised and societal norms and like where they were raised and all that jazz. But like,
They could have been
I
indoctrinated into it. I get what you mean,
exactly.
though.
I
I think,
believe that
I think,
everybody that comes out of the womb is an innocent until the world decides to push experience into into the eye of the beholder kind of thing. Like I am who I am because of the decisions I've made, but also because of the world that is around me, right?
I, I can understand that. I agree with you. In real life, I think that's more true.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
the reason I don't,
in
I think the,
animated things and fake things, I think that's a completely different conversation.
yeah, because I think
Yeah.
in like storytelling, yes, it is more realistic to have like a story that way, and I do enjoy villains that have stories that way because then you can sympathize with them.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't think every villain has to be written that way. Just because, even though in real life, yes, there is a reason, one reason, or two reason, or three reason that they get there, it's still them doing a vile thing, and I don't think we always need to. I think sometimes it's good to just show a villain doing bad things, because sometimes people are just bad people.
Yeah.
Just,
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I can agree with you there.
I think the reason why the debate has happened is because the beginning of this is more of like
Yeah.
the story of the villain and why the person decides to make the villainous act. And I'm still equating that to human experience
No, I can agree
because
with that.
someone doing a villainous thing, like they have a villain,
Yeah.
like they have their own villain background kind of thing. So
I I don't
yeah,
think anyone is birthed out of the womb evil, but I also don't think everyone's birthed out of the womb innocent. I think it's like neutral, and they're equally as capable of doing evil as a kid, as they are equally as capable of doing good.
I will agree with the neutral thing, but that also is just innocent
Yeah,
because they haven't done anything yet.
yeah,
Like there is no right or wrong for someone who has no choice.
yeah. The reason why I say that is because I don't believe in like the fact that humanity is. We were getting a little off topic, but I'll just finish.
Nah.
I'll just wrap this off here, and then we'll call it. But I don't think humanity is. There's the topic of nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're getting into at this point. And it's like, is the nature of humans good? Or is it the nurture that makes them good? Is the nature of humans bad? Or is it the nurture that makes them bad? And I don't think it's one or the other. I think that we are born capable of to do
Anything.
both. Yeah. And I think someone who is good as a kid is still like they're a good kid. They haven't done anything bad. They're still equally as capable to do something bad.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that I think nurture is I think where I stand. I don't believe the idea that we're born evil, and I don't believe the idea that we're born good in a society that makes us evil. I do think nurture is what develops you to be good or bad, what either way.
Yeah.
I think we're just born as a clean slate of not good, not bad, just you are you and you'll probably do good or bad things until you figure out exactly what you want to do.
Yeah. And those decisions will be based off of everything that's ever happened.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I enjoyed this episode. I'm glad we got to discuss that. We got to some heavy topics.
That's facts.
Hello, and thank you for watching the Untitled Podcast. Haha. I have been your host, Daniel, and your other host, Eric.
Blog.
Please follow, like, subscribe, comment, all that good jazz. YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, please, at The Noted Podcast, at A Noted Podcast. I have been Daniel. This has been Eric. Goodbye.
I have been Daniel.
Bye. Noted.
Bye.